Dan and Jeff are best friends and travel bloggers.
Yeah!
They plan an epic hiking trip, but Dan has to go to the hospital, and Jeff goes on the trip by himself. Dan gets better and decides to go find Jeff and surprise him. On the way, Dan meets the locals and questions them about Jeff. The farmer says,
I didn't see any strangers on my land. I don't like uninvited guests.
Then, Dan knocks on a cabin in the woods. A cute old couple opens the door. They say,
It's just the two of us. We haven't had any guests in our house for many years.
And finally, Dan questions a tourist.
I set up my camp here yesterday. I didn't see anybody who looks like Jeff.
Who's lying? Let's take a closer look at the old couple's table. Why would they need to serve 3 teacups if they don't have any guests? One day, Jeff and Dan find a treasure map. They rent a boat to go find the hidden treasure, but the map has a twist. It shows 5 islands, and it doesn't say directly where the treasure is. All it says is that the other 4 islands are very dangerous. There's an ancient text written on the opposite side of the map. Jeff and Dan translate it into English, and that's what they get. Can you help them figure out the correct location of the treasure? According to the poem, they should stay away from the island with no single plant. Also, they should avoid the island that's surrounded by sharks, the island with a mountain, and the heart-shaped island. So the only island left is this one. The treasure should be here. The guys come over to the island. Suddenly, they get surrounded by a crowd of crabs. Can you sort one odd crab out? There it is! Jeff and Dan keep on walking and see this sign. There are 4 possible routes, but only one of them will actually lead them to the treasure. Can you figure out the correct way? The trick to solving this maze quickly is to start drawing from the final destination. So they should take route A. Finally, Dan and Jeff find a treasure chest, but it's locked. They need a 4-digit code. Can you help them open the combination lock? Take a look at the images painted on the treasure chest. It's not just a decoration, it's a hint. To crack the code, we need to count the number of details in each icon. So the code is 8382. Dan and Jeff get back to the port with the treasure. They book the best room in the most expensive hotel. Then they decide to relax in the spa area and see 2 ladies taking baths. Can you guess who's not from this planet? Both! The lady on the left has tentacles, and the lady on the right doesn't look human-like at all. After the spa session, the guys go to the restaurant. Can you see anything odd here? There's a rat in this guy's glass. After dinner, Dan and Jeff return to their room. Oh no, someone robbed them! The police officer arrives quickly and examines the crime scene, but he finds no signs of a break-in. He questions 3 suspects who had a key. The hotel manager says,
I spent all day with my husband, and my shift started 15 minutes ago, so I don't know what happened here.
The repairman says, I entered the room about an hour ago to replace burnt-out light bulbs. Everything looked fine. And the cleaner says,
I cleaned the room in the morning before the check-in, and I've never entered it again.
Who's lying? The repairman said he had replaced the bulbs with new ones. But this lamp still lacks a bulb. Seems like he was busy doing something else.
Oh no!
Dan and Jeff want to get their treasure back, so they search the repairman's apartment. Can you help them find it? It's on the couch, hidden under the pillows. The treasure chest is okay, but the thief locked it and changed the code. The guys need to figure out a new 4-digit combination to open it. There are no hints in this apartment, only this shopping list. Can you figure out the code? Let's take a closer look at the list. If we count the number of letters in each word, we'll get the code. 6, 7, 5, 4. Jeff brings the treasure to his house because he has a safe. He sets a new 4-digit code and leaves a reminder nearby. Can you guess the new code? To solve this one, we need to turn the piece of paper upside down. This way, 0, 5, 8, 9 will turn into 6, 8, 5, 0. Jeff is chilling in his living room. Suddenly, the electricity goes out in the entire neighborhood. 1 hour later, Dan arrives at Jeff's place and finds him tied to a chair. 30 minutes ago, a masked man robbed my house and took the treasure. The police arrive at the crime scene right away. They identify 3 suspects and interview all of them. Jim says, "I was washing my car." Rita says, "I was making coffee." And Emma says, "I was doing the laundry." Who's lying? There was a blackout, so the suspects couldn't use any electrical equipment. Jim washed his car with a sponge. Rita made coffee in the chesva. As for Emma, she couldn't use the washing machine. Therefore, her story is fake. Dan goes to a costume party, but the guard at the entrance refuses to let him in without a password. He says, "All you need to figure it out is in this room." Dan looks around and solves this mystery. What about you? Let's take a look at the graffiti wall. The 4th palm stands out because it's the only image of a left hand. Also, there are cosmic tattoos on each hand. Therefore, the secret password is the sun. Dan and Jeff are walking down the street and filming another vlog. Suddenly, a flower pot falls right down on Jeff's head. Dan helps Jeff get back on his feet and identifies the apartment from which the pot fell. They ring the bell. A young couple opens the door. "Jeff was injured by the pot you threw away." But the couple says,
That's impossible. You probably confused the floors. We returned from a long trip just a minute ago.
but the guys didn't believe them. Why? If the couple had just returned, there would be some suitcases in the hall, and the water in the kitchen couldn't boil in 1 minute. They lied to avoid paying compensation. The next morning, Dan wakes up in a creepy basement. An obsessed fangirl kidnapped him and locked Dan in her house. She brings him some food and leaves. Dan notices a piece of paper on the floor. Finally, he hears the fangirl leaving the house. Dan kicks down the door and runs to the front door to escape, but there's a combination lock, and he needs to enter a 4-number code. There must be a clue to the lock on the paper. Which combination opens the door? The number of fruits implies each digit in the code, and the color sequence on the paper implies the position of each digit. So Dan should enter 2, 3, 1, 4. Jeff and Dan decide to shoot their next adventure in a haunted village. A scary werewolf has been scaring the residents here for several days. The guys know that the werewolf has a wife. She's the only person who can calm the monster down and help him return to his human form again. They find 3 ladies. Each of them might be the wife, but none of the ladies admits it. Can you guess who the real werewolf's wife is? It's the 3rd lady. She has some brown wool on her clothes. Jeff takes a picture of an exotic parrot. Can you find the correct shadow of this bird? Only the 5th shadow is the perfect match.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.